In my previous life, I went to the hospital for a prenatal checkup, only to catch my husband's childhood sweetheart impersonating me in public, using my identity to show off. When I exposed her, she flew into a rage and accused me of cheating, claiming the baby I carried wasn't my husband's. Blinded by jealousy, my husband locked me away with a group of mentally unstable women. Believing her lies, I was assaulted, miscarried, and suffered heavy bleeding. No matter how I begged him to take me to the hospital, he stood by, cold and unmoved. In the end, it was his younger brother who found me and took me to the hospital. But it was already too late. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the time before our marriage. This time, I didn't believe a single word from his mouth. Instead, I called my father. Dad, there's a woman out there impersonating me, making a fool of herself under my name. Take care of it. And one more thing. I'm accepting the Oliver family's engagement proposal, but I want the younger brother as my fiancé. This time, I'll make Oliver and that vile woman taste every ounce of the pain they gave me. Chapter 1. Bang! A heavy blow struck the back of my head. My eyes flew open, before I could even see who was in front of me. The pungent smell of blood hit me. A warm line of blood dripped from my forehead into my eyes. Celine! A shrill voice screamed. You think that spouting nonsense in front of all these people will save you from humiliation? I'll show you exactly what happens when you mess with me. You might be pretty, but in front of someone like me, a real heiress with money, you're nothing. I struggled to lift my aching arms and wiped the blood from my face. My legs were unsteady as I staggered to stand. Emma was holding a wine bottle, ready to smash it over me. I instinctively raised my arms to protect myself, but the bottle didn't come down on me. Instead, Emma smashed it on her own arm, on purpose. Ah, Celine, stop hitting me! Her shriek was exaggerated and loud. Just as Oliver stormed into the scene, he stood in front of Emma like a knight protecting his princess. Are you crazy, Celine? He snapped. You humiliated Emma just because you're jealous she's the real heiress? You're not born to be a rich girl. Stop projecting your fantasies onto others. And now you're attacking her? Don't think just because you're my girlfriend, you can do whatever you want. I won't let anyone hurt Emma, not even you. I looked up and met Oliver's disgusted gaze, and in that moment, I snapped back to reality. I've been reborn. At this point in time, I hadn't secretly registered a marriage with Oliver yet, and I definitely wasn't foolish enough to be pregnant with his child. Ouch, it hurts. Emma whimpered sweetly, holding her arm in a delicate pose. Oliver's expression darkened instantly. He leaned in, checking her arm with a worried frown. After glancing it over and finding no sign of injury, he finally sighed in relief. Thank goodness you're okay. If it left a scar, I'd feel terrible. You'd feel terrible? Just moments ago I had been basking in the joy of rebirth. But those words from him made me sick to my stomach. Chapter 2. How stupid was I in my last life? Stupid enough to believe him when he said Emma was just a friend. Stupid enough to think that if I gave birth to his child, he would finally grow up and take responsibility for our little family. But I never imagined. His trust in Emma went so deep it had infected his bones. Back then, I was planning to bring him home, thinking that since I was already pregnant, my parents would finally accept him, even if they'd always looked down on our childhood engagement. But instead, he believed Emma's ridiculous lies, and accused me of carrying another man's baby. Then he locked me in a basement, and let a group of mentally ill women torment me. Just thinking about it made my stomach ache again. I clenched my fists tightly, and glared at them with venom. Celine, apologize to Emma, Oliver roared, making my already throbbing head pound even harder. Are you blind? Can't you see I'm the one who's bleeding? The blood on my face hadn't even dried. Oliver froze for a second, but Emma didn't give him a chance to respond. She grabbed his arm and put on her tearful act. Oliver. She hit herself. I chased after her and saw it with my own eyes. She even said that if she bled, you'd feel bad for her, and believe whatever she said. You're disgusting. Celine. Oliver snapped, believing her without a second of doubt. I rolled my eyes. I wasn't going to waste another word on these two. I pulled out my phone to call my dad, but before I could dial, Oliver, clearly offended by my disregard, charged forward and ripped the phone out of my hand, then smashed it to the ground. Celine, I've been too lenient with you, haven't I? Now apologize to Emma. He grabbed my arm harshly, yanking me toward him with force. My body was already weak, the blood dripping into my eyes, the wound on my head. And now Oliver's violent pull made me stumble and collapse to my knees. Seeing the chance, Oliver shoved his knee into my back. Emma stepped forward, standing right in front of me. From the outside, it looked just like I was kneeling to her. If you still want to stay by my side, Oliver barked. Then get on your knees and apologize to Emma, properly. I gritted my teeth. But his strength was too much. I couldn't move. Celine, stop being ungrateful. Oliver slapped the back of my head. If Emma's family hears she was mistreated, even I won't be able to protect you. The pain exploded. My already swollen scalp felt like a boulder had crushed it. The throbbing was so unbearable. Tears began falling uncontrollably. Seeing me cry, Emma's lips curled into a pleased little smile. Oliver, you idiot, I hissed through clenched teeth, trembling in pain. Emma, pretending to be some kind of heiress, what a joke. What do you know? Oliver shot back. Emma took her mom's last name. She was sick as a child and raised away from home. But I saw her mom visit us when we were young. I had argued with him about this exact thing in my last life. The truth was Emma and my mother had absolutely no connection. The only reason my mom had ever shown up near Oliver's house was because of the childhood engagement between our families. She had just wanted to sneak a look at her future son-in-law. But no matter what I said back then, Oliver refused to believe me. He only believed what he saw with his own eyes. Emma drove luxury cars she rented, carried fake designer bags, and played the part of a wealthy daughter. Meanwhile, because my family disapproved of the engagement, I could only date Oliver in secret. As an ordinary girl with no name or title. Chapter 3. The first time I met Oliver, I knew right away he was a wealthy young master. He was dazzling, and I fell for him at first sight. But my parents didn't want me to lower myself for a childhood engagement, so they rejected the arrangement on my behalf. Back then, Oliver was arrogant. He looked down on the engagement too. So when I was with him, I didn't dare reveal my true identity. Later on, though, Oliver's family fell from grace. They urgently needed support from my family. Suddenly, the childhood engagement became useful again, and they used it to pressure my parents. Naturally, my parents were even more against it. But they told me they'd respect my decision. I was overjoyed. I wanted to tell Oliver the truth, but Emma beat me to it. She claimed she was the real heiress. And Oliver, like grabbing a life-saving rope, ran straight to her. I knew Emma's motives. She had no idea Oliver's family had lost their fortune. She just assumed they were still rich, and wanted to marry into their family. But Emma wasn't special. She looked plain. She had known Oliver since school, but he had never liked her. I didn't know how she found out about the engagement between our families. But back then I was so focused on winning Oliver's heart. I never realized Oliver and Emma were the same kind of people. Heh, idiot. The word slipped out of my mouth. Oliver looked at Emma awkwardly, maybe feeling embarrassed in front of her. Then, in a sudden burst of rage, he grabbed the back of my head and shoved me down toward Emma's feet. I fell forward, my nose nearly touching her heels. There was a crystal flower on the tip of her shoes. She deliberately lifted her foot. The hard, sharp crystals scraped against my cheek like blades. Oliver held my head down tightly, while Emma scraped her shoe against my face with smug cruelty. I couldn't move. Pain spread through my entire body, even though I clenched my teeth to hold back any sound. I couldn't stop the tears from falling. Emma, don't be mad, okay? She's not worth your anger, Oliver said gently, while tightening his grip on me. He was furious that I still hadn't apologized. Suddenly, bang! The door to the private room flew open. Brother, let her go. It was his younger brother, Sam. Oliver didn't even turn around. He just kept pressing down on me. I didn't know what was happening to my head anymore. All I felt was more blood running down from the top of my scalp. My eyes were red. Everything flickered black and white. Let her go, Oliver. Sam charged forward, shoved Oliver away with all his strength, and scooped me into his arms. I leaned into Sam's chest, gasping for air. My head felt like it was splitting open. The pain, the blood loss, and the lack of oxygen left my ears ringing. I couldn't even hear what Sam was saying, but I could see from his anxious expression that he was panicking. In my previous life, I didn't have many memories of Sam. He was 3 years younger than me, and the first time I saw him, I thought he looked like a sweet little puppy, sunny, gentle, and a bit shy. Later, after I got together with Oliver, Sam left the country to study abroad. We hadn't seen each other in years. Now, he had grown into someone strong and dependable. What are you doing here? This has nothing to do with you, Oliver barked. But Sam didn't listen. He scooped me into his arms and sprinted away. My head lay against his chest. I could hear his heartbeat pounding faster and faster. Even his breathing grew ragged. Lend me your phone, I murmured with all the strength I had left. I need to make a call. Of course. Sam held me as we slipped into the elevator. He didn't hesitate. He hit the button for the top floor, level 100, like a shattered butterfly. I was gently placed in a clean corner. Sam handed me the phone. I'll guard the elevator. Thank you. I took the phone and dialed my dad. It connected quickly. Hello? Who is this? Hearing that familiar voice, I finally broke down, choking on my tears. Dad, it's Celine. Someone named Emma is impersonating me. She kidnapped me. Please, come save me. What? Don't be scared. Celine, I'm coming right now. And Dad, I'll agree to the engagement. But the groom must be Oliver's younger brother. Sam. I gave him the address and hung up. This time, I would make Oliver taste what it's like to lose everything he so desperately wanted, to have it snatched away by someone else. Brother, please stop this madness. Celine's seriously injured. She needs a hospital. I turned my head toward the voice, just in time to see Oliver kick Sam hard to the ground. You idiot! Oliver grabbed Sam by the collar. You think you know anything? Our whole future depends on this marriage. As long as we keep Emma happy, her family will save us. Even if Celine dies here tonight, Emma's family will make it disappear. He flung Sam into the wall with a vicious shove, then turned, his face twisted with rage, and stormed toward me. Chapter 4. The fierce wind howled atop the rooftop. At this moment, Oliver looked every bit like a bloodthirsty demon. Behind him, Emma stood with her arms crossed, a mocking smirk playing on her lips. Celine, is it that hard to apologize? She sneered. What? You expect Emma to take the blame for your false accusations? I lay helplessly on the ground, completely drained. Just as Oliver's hand reached for me, Sam lunged forward and tackled him to the ground. Brother, I won't let you hurt her, Sam shouted, locking his arms around Oliver's legs. The Oliver family had always ignored their youngest son. That's exactly what bred Oliver's arrogant, entitled nature. Meanwhile, Sam, overlooked since childhood, grew up quiet and withdrawn. A constant target of Oliver's bullying, Sam had always hated his brother's cruelty, but he'd never had the power to stop him. Now, Oliver snapped. He stomped down on Sam's arm. You worthless brat. You think you have the right to meddle in my business? Sam gritted his teeth and held on, desperately lifting his head to check on me. Through blurry vision, I spotted something in the distance. A helicopter, racing toward us. The roaring blades caught Oliver's attention. While he was distracted, Sam quickly cradled me in his arms, shielding me from the wind and danger. The helicopter landed with precision on the rooftop helipad. When Oliver saw who was stepping out, his expression changed instantly. His hands were stained with my blood. He hurriedly wiped them on his shirt and forced a smile. He rushed forward with a flattering tone. Sir, what a surprise! What brings you here? My daughter. Where is she? Oliver beamed, pointed toward Emma, and said with confidence, Emma's over there. Don't worry, she's perfectly fine. But my father, Nestor, glanced at Emma with no emotion whatsoever. He brushed past Oliver like he was invisible. and walked straight toward me. When he finally laid eyes on me, his face contorted in horror. Celine! Celine, my sweet daughter. Who did this to you? Oliver stood frozen, utterly confused and in shock, watching as my father rushed to gather me into his arms. I looked up at him, lips trembling. Dad, I whispered, and then everything went black. Chapter 5. When I woke up again, I was already in a private hospital. I didn't know how long I had been asleep, and 4 was still dripping into the back of my hand, and my head was wrapped tightly in gauze. My mom was asleep by my bedside, her head resting on the edge of the bed. Her eyelashes were still wet with tears. She must have just cried. Ever since I started dating Oliver, I moved out of the house. The last time I visited my parents was half a year ago, and we didn't part on good terms. They thought I'd been deceived by some man outside, but I didn't dare tell them I was dating Oliver. I fumbled through my words, and that only made them angrier. I slowly lifted my hand and placed it gently on her hair. A few strands of white at her temple stabbed my heart like needles. Since I was little, I had poor health. To protect me, my parents never made my identity public. Everyone knew the Nestor family had a daughter, but no one knew what the heiress looked like. They raised me in a secluded mountain villa, where the air was clean, good for treating my asthma. But as I grew older, my curiosity about love only deepened. The maids at the villa would whisper that I had a childhood engagement to none other than young Master Oliver. I begged my mother to let me see what Oliver looked like. Who knew that just one glance would end up destroying me like this? My mom never liked Oliver. She thought he was unworthy in every way, too petty, too arrogant, despite his status as a rich heir, so she politely declined the engagement. At the time, the Oliver family was thriving, so they didn't push it. But I secretly approached Oliver. When we first got together, I truly felt happy. I believed that once our love was strong enough, my parents would come around. But all of it was just my wishful thinking. Maybe Oliver never loved me. He only cared about what was beneficial to him at the moment. When I was the school beauty, being with me gave him face. Later, when he thought Emma was a rich heiress, he didn't care if I lived or died, as long as he could make her smile. He's the most disgusting man on earth. Celine, you're awake. My mom must have felt my fingers twitch. She jolted awake, instantly clasping my hand in hers. Tears streamed down her face, her eyes full of pain and worry. Mom, I'm sorry. I won't be so stubborn again, I whispered, voice trembling. She shook her head quickly. No, my Celine was bullied. You weren't being stubborn. Your father and I, we neglected you. But from now on, we'll protect you. Always. I bit my lip and lowered my head, choked with emotion. Then I suddenly remembered Sam, and my voice tensed in urgency. Mom, what about the guy who got hurt with me? Is he okay? He's next door. She reassured me gently. No serious injuries. I breathed a sigh of relief. Then what about the woman, the one pretending to be me? Don't worry. Your father's taking care of everything. He won't let them get away with it. She softly stroked my hand, but my head still ached terribly. Just talking a little made the dizziness return. Before I knew it, I had fallen asleep again. It was only a mild concussion this time, and compared to my tragic death in the last life, this was already a blessing. Chapter 6. Let me go. Oliver, what are you even doing? You lied to me, and now you're asking what I'm doing? I almost lost my future wife because of you. You'd better take responsibility. Their loud shouting snapped me awake. My eyes fluttered open, only to see the two people I least wanted to see in this life. I quickly shut them halfway again, pretending to sleep. I didn't know what they were planning, but my heart pounded wildly with fear. Emma's face was bruised and battered. Gone were her fake designer outfits. She now wore a simple hoodie, stained with blood. But hadn't Dad said they were already taken into custody? Why were they suddenly here, in the hospital? Just as I was trying to piece it together, I heard Sam's voice outside the room. Big brother? What are you doing here? I secretly cracked open one eye, just in time to see Oliver snap the moment he saw Sam. In the blink of an eye, he lunged and locked his arms tightly around Sam's neck. Sam's arm was still in a cast from his injury. There was no way he could fight back. He wasn't Oliver's match at all. "Tie up his hands," Oliver barked. Emma finally came to her senses. She hurriedly pulled off her jacket and clumsily used it to bind Sam's wrists. I gasped and opened my eyes in panic, instinctively trying to stop them, but they hadn't noticed I'd woken up. Before I could react, they had dragged Sam out of the room. I ripped the 4-needle from my hand. Pain shot up my arm, but I didn't care. I swung my legs off the bed. But the moment my feet touched the floor, a wave of dizziness hit me like a truck. I clutched the wall for balance, gritting my teeth, as I took step after agonizing step toward the door. Sam had been dragged to the stairwell. His already fractured arm was now being bent violently in the opposite direction. Sweat poured from his forehead from the sheer pain. "Big brother, what are you doing?" "What am I doing?" Oliver's voice dripped with venom. "You dare call me brother? All this time, you were scheming behind my back." The look in his eyes, he looked ready to devour Sam alive. Sam stared at him in disbelief. This wasn't the brother he remembered. The older brother he once looked up to, gentle, refined, calm, was gone. Now, all that remained was a twisted, hate-filled stranger. "You knew all along, didn't you? That Celine is the real heiress. That's why you came back to play the hero and save her. You even knew about the engagement, the childhood match between her and our family. You planned everything, stealing my bride, stealing my life." Sam looked at him, his eyes full of heartbreak and quiet disappointment. He shook his head slowly. "No." His expression said without words, "Just sorrow." Chapter 7. Oliver and Emma had been detained for a while. They were finally released on bail, only to hear that the families were planning a marriage alliance, and the groom was Sam. Meanwhile, Oliver's reputation had gone down the drain. His old drinking buddies now avoided him like the plague. "Big brother, I know you won't believe me right now. Just like you didn't believe Celine when she told you the truth back then. You only ever believe what you want to believe." Wham! Oliver suddenly slammed a brutal punch into Sam's stomach. "You little bastard! You think you can lecture me?" Before Sam could react, Oliver rained down punch after punch, not giving him a chance to fight back. Sam tried to resist, but Emma wrapped her arms around his neck, strangling him. His face turned red. His eyes rolled back, and blood gushed from his mouth. I had finally made it to the stairwell door. When I witnessed that horrifying scene, my whole body jolted in shock. I screamed with all the strength I had left. "Stop!" Only then did Oliver notice me. He froze. There was a flicker of panic in his eyes, but he quickly forced on a charming smile and stepped toward me. "Celine, you're awake. I missed you so much." He opened his arms, as if trying to hug me. I took a step back in disgust and pointed to Emma. "Let him go." Emma hated me, but right now, the person she feared most was Oliver. She stood frozen, waiting for his signal. Okay, let him go," Oliver said quickly, softening his tone, like he used to when coaxing me. If this were the old me from my past life, I probably would have been overjoyed. But now, all I felt when I looked at him was disgust. Chapter 8. The moment Sam was released, he slid down the wall and collapsed to the floor, gasping for air. I wanted to go check on him, but Oliver blocked my way. He grabbed my shoulders in desperation. "Celine, I was wrong. I was blind. I believed that liar. Please forgive me, okay? We promised, didn't we? This year we'd get married and have a baby. With a baby, your parents wouldn't be able to stop us anymore." I tried to push him away, but he wouldn't budge. "Celine, we've been together for so many years. How can anyone come between us? You know I love you." Every word he said made me want to throw up. "Move," I snapped coldly. "Celine, please. What if Emma apologizes? Don't be mad, okay?" He pleaded, then yanked Emma by the hair, just like the day he held me down. Now Emma was pinned at my feet, screaming in fear, kicking and thrashing. "Stay still," Oliver roared, then stomped on her back, hard. Crack! A chilling sound of bones snapping echoed through the stairwell. Aha! Emma's screams bounced off the concrete walls. I couldn't stand it anymore. I stepped around them and rushed to Sam's side. As I bent down to help him, Oliver darted forward and grabbed my wrist. "Celine, don't touch him. You're not allowed to touch him." "Oliver," I said coldly. "He's my fiancé. Why shouldn't I touch him?" Hearing that, Oliver completely snapped. His fake gentleness evaporated in an instant. "Celine, you're mine. I've been sleeping with you for years, and now you want someone else to take over? Over my dead body." He dug his fingers into my shoulders, then lunged in to kiss me. I slapped him across the face. It wasn't loud, but it was all the strength I had left. Pain throbbed through my head, and I swayed on my feet. But to Oliver, that slap was like flirting. He grinned, then suddenly scooped me into his arms. "Celine, I knew you still loved me. You're just throwing a tantrum, right? Don't be mad, baby. Let's go get our marriage certificate right now. You and I, we're meant to be. Only I can be with you in this life." I forced myself to suppress the nausea rising in my chest. Right now, I had to keep Oliver calm. If he completely lost it, the three of us could all die here. "All right, if you want to marry me, then show me a proper betrothal gift." I narrowed my eyes slightly, voice firm and laced with mockery. "Didn't you say you'd give at least 10 million when you were planning to marry Emma, the so-called heiress? Well then, if you can come up with that amount, I'll tell my dad to call off Sam's engagement and marry you instead." A faint smile curved at the corner of my lips. Oliver's expression shifted instantly. "Why do we need a bride price? You said yourself, as long as you're pregnant, your parents will give in. They dote on you, don't they? But times have changed." I replied coldly. "Now my engagement with Sam is public. If I suddenly change partners, it will only make sense if the new groom is more exceptional. And don't you care what people say? Don't you crave recognition, Oliver?" I locked eyes with him. "If you can do it, I'll marry you." My words seemed to light a fire in him. He spun me around in his arms, laughing maniacally. "Fine, just wait, I'll get it." My head was already throbbing, and being spun around made it worse. The whole world spun with me. "Oliver, I don't feel well. Take me back to the room." "Okay, Celine. I'm sorry. From now on, I'll take care of you. Anyone who dares hurt you, I'll kill them." Coming from him, it sounded laughable. He was the one who hurt me the most. Back in the room, I made an excuse and got him to leave. He was afraid my parents would find out and ruin his chances at marrying me. So he reluctantly dragged Emma out with him. Before leaving, he even wanted to take Sam with him. If I hadn't reminded him that Sam's disappearance would immediately alert my parents, Sam might have ended up like me in my past life, beaten to death. Once Oliver left, I immediately called the doctor. Sam had several fractured ribs, but thankfully, none had punctured his lungs. After emergency treatment, his life was no longer in danger, but this place was no longer safe. I had to move Sam somewhere Oliver would never find him. After the surgery, Sam slept for 36 hours straight. When he finally opened his eyes, his voice was hoarse but steady. "I'm fine." This was the first thing Sam said. The moment he saw me, my tears fell uncontrollably. I knew how much pain he was in, because I had been there too. I remembered clearly, in my previous life, I was left bleeding and broken, violated and helpless. Oliver, holding Emma in his arms, walked away without looking back. And then Sam appeared, panicked and crying, carrying me to the hospital. But it was already too late. The last thing I saw before I died was his devastated face. How could someone so beautiful wear such an expression of despair? He reached out, trying to wipe away my tears, but the movement pulled on his wounds, sending a sharp pain through his abdomen. He gasped, I instinctively stopped him. "Don't move." I choked out. "You've got fractures. The doctor said you need at least 3 months to recover." Sam's voice was hoarse. "I'm sorry. I should have come back earlier. I should have taken you away from my brother. Then you wouldn't have gotten hurt." I shook my head. The truth was, he was already late. But even if he'd come earlier, I wouldn't have left with him, because that's just who I am. I only learned the hard way. Chapter 9. And this time, the price was too high. "I've already told my parents," I said. "You'll be transferred to a different hospital tomorrow. Somewhere Oliver will never find you." But he shook his head. "I'm not leaving." My tone softened unconsciously. Still treating him like a younger brother. "Be good. Just listen." He was silent for a moment, then reached out and held my hand. "Celine." I froze. The atmosphere shifted. He had never called me by name like that before. In all my memories, he'd never once called me sister, but he also never dared call me anything else. "I like you. I've liked you since I was 18. I stared at him, stunned, but my tears only flowed faster. Sam slowly lifted his left hand, gently wiping my tears away. I would learn later. This single gesture. He had practiced it in his heart countless times, but never dared to do it for real. Every time, he could only stand at a distance, watching me hold Oliver's hand, and his final line of defense was never calling me sister-in-law. "I went abroad because I couldn't bear to see you happy with my brother." I didn't know how to say what I felt, but I could never let go. All these years, I came back almost every month, just to see you from afar. I felt happy when you looked happy, but also miserable. I buried these feelings so deep, but I never stopped loving you. He looked at me, eyes red. "But I didn't think. My brother didn't even love you. Celine, he only ever cares about profit. Please don't let him fool you again." I nodded, eyes still glistening. "I know." He looked at me, tears still falling from his eyes. Then, after a pause, he turned away and whispered, "My brother hurt you so deeply. You must be disappointed in all of us, even if you don't want me in the future. I'll still." "Sam, don't overthink. Focus on healing. When you get better, we'll get married." My words stunned him. A tear slipped from the corner of his eye. "Celine, even if you never love me, I'll still protect you with my life." And now I finally understood. Chapter 10. I finally knew why. In the last life, he appeared in that secret room. Why he was the one to carry me to the hospital. In my final moments. Because he had always been near. But now, the most urgent thing was to completely finish off Oliver and Emma. The next day, I had Sam transferred to a private hospital, while I remained in the original room, because I needed to stay and watch Oliver's downfall with my own eyes. Oliver moved quickly. In less than 3 days, he came up with the 10 million when he walked into the hospital proudly, money in hand. I was fully prepared to receive him. From the moment he stepped inside, his fate was sealed. His family's business had been bankrupt for ages. Forget 10 million, even 100,000 in cash would have been a struggle. So he turned to loan sharks, but they needed collateral. He had nothing, except Emma, to get the money. He signed a contract with insane interest rates. He had 1 week to repay double. "Celine, I'm here." He handed me the card with pride. At that moment, my parents entered the room. He immediately tensed up. But they had already rehearsed this with me. They greeted him with smiles, praised him nonstop, making him feel like he had already won. He never saw it coming. He even went out drinking with my dad that night, laughing and boasting, while they celebrated. I had already been discharged from the hospital, and married Sam that very night. Oliver drank himself into oblivion, utterly wasted, and my father had someone dump him at the doorstep of the loan shark's office. The next morning, we held a press conference. Our marriage was officially announced to the world. That 10 million? We announced it as the big brother's wedding gift to the groom. Sam and I held our wedding 6 months later in Iceland. No guests, no media, just a small family gathering and a private ceremony. Simple, beautiful, complete. Chapter 11. Oliver has completely disappeared from my world. When the loan sharks saw the news of my marriage, they instantly realized they had been played. They seized Oliver on the spot and gave him a brutal beating. But even after losing so much money, they weren't satisfied. They caused trouble at my father's company a few times, trying to pressure him. But there's a reason. My family has held the title of wealthiest for years. My father's power and influence are not to be underestimated. They quickly realized they couldn't afford to offend him, so all their rage was directed entirely at Oliver and Emma. Those loan sharks had no humanity to begin with. Now that they had lost a fortune, they were determined to squeeze it back. From the two of them, Emma's life became a living hell. They locked her in a dark room, forcing her to entertain different men every day. As for Oliver, when they realized my family never acknowledged him, he lost all remaining value. He became nothing but a tool for revenge. They tortured him daily. There wasn't a single inch of healthy skin left on him, and given how arrogant and abusive he used to be, plenty of people came forward just to get their revenge. Months passed, and Oliver was no longer human. His body was broken, and his mind, even more so. He began attacking people, biting anyone in sight. The loan sharks, seeing no more use for him, sold him off to a secret foreign research facility. There, they locked him away with other broken, deranged men. He spent his days being drugged, tested, and sedated. He never had the chance to leave. I heard he didn't last long. One night, he pretended he needed the bathroom and drowned himself in a toilet. That was the end of Oliver. Emma didn't fare any better. After being cast out by the loan sharks and infected with diseases, she was thrown onto the streets. She now begs for food to survive. As for the Oliver family business, Sam has taken it over. Though to be honest, it wasn't really a takeover. It was a complete rebirth. And the funding? That very same 10 million Oliver had once offered me to buy my hand in marriage. My father once wanted to help him, but he refused. He wanted to rebuild everything on his own strength. In this lifetime, I no longer clung to love. I was distant with Sam, and he never forced anything. Every day, he quietly cared for me, handled my daily routines, tried to make me smile. As for having children, he never even mentioned it. All he wished for was to stay by my side. 3 years later, his business finally took off again. Sam grew busier, and his features matured with time. Watching him, I suddenly asked, "You and him, you don't look alike at all." His hand, which was holding a pen, froze mid-signature. "That's a good thing," he said quietly. "Celine, do you still, in your heart?" Before he could finish, I walked over, lifted his arm, and sat directly in his lap. "Sam, I want to have a baby who would be welcomed into the world with love." His eyes instantly reddened. He wrapped his arms around my waist, resting his chin gently on my shoulder. "Okay, I'll do whatever you want. Celine, thank you." I blinked. "Thank me for what?" "Thank you for letting me be your husband, and letting me be the father of your child." I smiled, pressed a soft kiss to his forehead. "It should have been you all along. Even in the last life, it should have been you."